Oh, I think you're on mute, Josh.
You are absolutely right. Scott's muting this is getting the best of me today because he cannot be here, so I guess it rubbed off on me. Episode 48 of Luck and Talk Live. Got it almost there, almost at the half season point. We'll be there next week, next Tuesday. We probably won't have a show tomorrow because I'll be in Houston getting us ready for the championship kickoff. Play that by ear. Most likely no show tomorrow, but that's okay. But we got a great preview show for you today. As you can see, I've been kind of running ragged, didn't know how many. That's what you do when you host and produce. Before I get into our Thursday show, got to bring in our co-host for today's Shana. Shana, how you doing?
You know, I'm doing good. It's been a great week so far. I saw today that the AAC is adding 6 schools, which, you know, is pretty cool. I'm a North Texas alumna, and they're adding North Texas. So we'll see how we can do. We haven't been doing that great this season. We're like 4 seasons removed of a really strong bowl season. But, you know, hey, maybe in the AAC we can do it. Other than that, you know, crazy things have happened in volleyball. Flower Mound Marcus defeated Flower Mound, which, as you know, is our number 1 school ranked in our rankings. So we're gonna have to see how that drops Flower Mound in our rankings. And then we have some great games to get to today. Some of them we're gonna talk about and really kind of dissect to see, you know, what kind of weekend we're going to have. One of those games is tonight. I'm pretty excited for it, the South Lake Carroll and VR Eaton game. I'm pumped to talk about that one. It's going to be a really great game. You know, it's going to be a great week in Texas high school football and all of the sports. We're going to have a busy day tomorrow and Saturday. I know you're going to have a busy day tomorrow. So I'm excited. I'm ready to get rolling. Let's see what we can do this week.
Well, I mean, we can't leave off your Braves either. 1 win away from the World Series. That's got to be exciting.
Man, let me tell you, like, not only am I a Braves fan, but I'm not a Dodgers lover. So to see them do this against the Dodgers is even more great for me. But, you know, it's kind of that feeling where you're like, oh, yeah, Braves are 3-1. And then you start to realize, oh, man, Braves are 3-1, which, you know, historically 3-1 teams, they always give up that lead. I'm hoping we don't do that. We'll see, but I have more hope than that for the Braves.
We will see indeed. They've looked, as of now, anyway, you know, they do look pretty much on their way to the World Series. They really haven't shown any indication of, you know, slowing down, if you will. So it will be, you know, if they do happen to lose the series, it will be kind of a head scratcher, to be honest. So, but I don't want to put that jinx on your team, so I'll kind of stop right there. We do have some football to get to. We got some games coming up today, and then I think one of these is today, which is South Lake Carroll and Eaton. I think the rest of these are tomorrow. So let's go ahead and get into it, and let's start. Where should we start today? We'll start in the Austin San Antonio area, and we'll start with one of our first games. Geronimo Navarro taking on Wimberley. Both teams currently undefeated in district at 1-0. Geronimo Navarro coming in at 5-1, Wimberley at 5-2. This was a good game last year. This is a game I think Navarro ended up winning by 2. Very good game. They've played every year since 2010, and they've played twice the last 2 years. And then the way it works is like last year, Navarro got him in the regular season. Wimberley got him in the playoffs. I think that happened the last 2 years, if I'm not being mistaken. Navarro is coming off of a bye week. No, not a bye week. They played Mayor New Tech and they won 69-0. No, it was their bye week last week. There you go. I looked at it wrong. Wimberley's kind of had like a tough schedule in a way to heading into district. They played Cuero, which, as we know, has kind of come back on the up and up. Let me turn it over to you, Shana. What do you think about this game?
I think it's funny that you mention Navarro kind of like takes out Wimberley in the regular season, but then Wimberley turns around and gets things done in the playoffs, which, obviously regular season matters, but playoffs is really where if you want to keep advancing, you got to play week by week and you got to get those wins. And Wimberley has proven to be strong in doing that. I think Wimberley's defense has been absolutely outstanding in every single game this season, even in their losses, but especially in their wins. Coupling that with a strong offense, I think we're going to see a really strong game from the Texans. Now Navarro, they did have that opening season loss, but like we keep saying, you can't really judge a team week one. We've seen that throughout the entire state. This season, we've seen some pretty odd losses in week one, and then we've seen those teams bounce back like it never even happened, like it was last season. Um, but they've played strong ever since their opening loss. They've had true grit in every single play. I don't think we'll see them slow down. So I think we're going to see pretty tough competition, especially between these two teams. Both teams are going to want that win. Both teams want to, on one hand, Navarro wants to keep that going. On the other hand, Wimberley wants to say, you know what, we can beat you in regular season too. I think the key for Navarro will definitely be the offense. They'll need to break through Wimberley's defense. But I think it's possible that they might be able to do it.
Yeah, it will be a good game indeed. But I will say to your point, like, hey, you want the regular season win. I mean, you'll take the playoff win over the regular season win any day. So, it's like, hey, you may have beat us in the regular season the last 2 years, but we beat you in the playoffs. Should be a good one. This is another kind of, I think these two teams are kind of the top of their districts. So I think whoever wins this one's probably well on their way to winning that district. So let's move on to the next one. Bernie champion, Alamo Heights. Alamo Heights coming in undefeated, 7-0, 2-0 in district. And they're one of the 8 remaining undefeated teams in Class 5A Division II. Chargers coming in at 6-1, 2-0 in district. Of course, as we know, that their only loss was to El Campo, that pretty lopsided loss, as it were. But they're still rolling. Besides that game, they beat Kerrville Tivy 45-20 last week, so they are rolling. Winner of this one gets sole possession of first place. Alamo Heights is the defending champions, and Bernie Champion is seeking their first district championship since 2014. The Bills lead the series all time 7-5. What do you think about this one, Shana?
Alamo Heights, they really truly do the most every season, I think. They've posted convincing wins. They've shown that they truly trust the team as a full team and individually to get their job done on the field and off the field in order to continue to be better each week. I can see them running away with it this week if Bernie Champion doesn't get them figured out quickly. However, on the other end of that, Bernie Champion has been strong, ever since they first started, I think. They did have that loss against El Campo, but I don't think that is too much against them. El Campo's pretty good, and they've bounced back ever since. I think what they have going for them this season is it's been good for them, and I think we're going to continue to see it be good for them. I think their offense needs to have a big game against somebody like Alamo Heights. But I think this is going to be another one of those games in your area where it's just competition all around the entire night.
Yeah, this should be a very good game. Like Alamo Heights has really impressed me all this season with what they've done. Every time they kind of have a challenger kind of step up to the plate, if you will, they've always answered that challenge. 7-0 for a reason. And then Bernie Champions lost. Yeah, it was to El Campo, which is a smaller school, but I mean, when you got Ruben Owens on that smaller school squad, sometimes that loss isn't as bad as it may seem. I think they can't have another showing like they did against El Campo if they want to beat Alamo Heights. This is one of our pick'ems, so I guess if we're not having a show tomorrow, we really haven't decided if we're having a show tomorrow or not. So I don't know if we should pick this one or not, but we'll kind of save it up in the air. This is one of our article pick'ems, so on our Austin San Antonio pick'ems, this is one of them. This is probably the big one. So I won't pick it just yet. I have a favorite in this one. I will say if I had to pick, I'm not going to pick yet, but I'm leaning towards Alamo Heights in this one. I think they haven't really shown me that anything where okay, we should not want to pick them. What do you think on that? Is it should an undefeated record at this point in the season go a long way into who you favor?
I don't think it's the undefeated record that goes a long way to who I favor. I think it's just the mental toughness as well as the physical toughness matched up on the field. And I think Alamo Heights has proven to show that each and every single game. I think Bernie Champion, obviously they stand a chance that they're a tough team, but they're gonna have to figure out Alamo Heights quickly.
Yeah, and it is going to come down to I think Alamo Heights' defense, which we know can be stout. I mean, they had a 7-0 win against Wimberley, who we just talked about earlier in the year. So they know how to win when it counts, and they know how to win in a variety of ways. They can beat you with their offense. They can beat you with their defense. So there's very many ways they can beat you. I think that makes them the dangerous team in this one. Let's move on to the Houston area, and let's talk Katie Tompkins taking on Katie Seven Lakes. So this one has a lot of implications as far as, you talk about the Katy Tigers potentially going D2, but Tompkins leads the series all time 4-3. They've pretty much won the last few, including last year 52-0. And Tompkins is scoring 38 points a game, and this is with their poor showing against Katy, by the way. So they're averaging 38 points a game, and that includes their game against Katy, where I think they scored 7 or 3 or something like that. So, their offense, besides that Katy game, has been rolling. I have some stats here, but I want to turn over to you first about this game. What do you think?
Seven Lakes has had a few road bumps this season, but both of their losses have come against really, really strong teams. Klein is tough, and as we know, Katy is amazing. I think the road bumps aren't something that has been holding them back too much. I think they consistently go out and play strong, even in their close games. But Katie Tompkins is also a tough team. I'd say this matchup is pretty even-keeled, and we're going to see a lot of hard work all around. I think, in my opinion, what needs to happen is that Tompkins' defense needs to turn up the gas to play strong against Seven Lakes.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, they're going to have to rely on, their quarterback, Cole Francis. He's coming in with almost 2,000 yards passing, only 19 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions. So you like to see that, touchdown to interception ratio. And he's also thrown for 200 yards or more in each of his last 4 games. So, expect a big game from him. Running back Caleb Blocker, he's got almost 500 yards rushing and 8 touchdowns. And then you look at this defense. I mean, you got 4 different position or 5 different athletes with over 50 tackles. Just crazy stats and 14 interceptions to boot. So, if Seven Lakes hopes to even stay in this game, they're going to have to really contend with this defense and not turn the ball over. As we know, Seven Lakes is primarily a running team. So, you have your quarterback, Grayson Medford. He has 323 yards rushing on the season. Running back Barrett Hudson, 574, and running back Michael Amico, 423. So, really, if you're Katie Tompkins, the key to the game is just stop the run. If you stop the run, you're going to stop Seven Lakes. That seems to be the key to victory on this one. Any last thoughts on this one, Shana?
No, I just agree that Tompkins' defense will be the key to victory for them if they pull off this win.
Completely agree. Let's stay in Houston and let's talk North Shore taking on C.E. King. As we know, C.E. King came up just a little short against. Well, actually, no, they didn't come up against just a little short. It was a pretty easy victory for Atascocita last week, and now you turn around and immediately you get North Shore. The suffering really doesn't end for C.E. King, if you will. North Shore is really. I don't know if a lot of people, and me and Matt talked about this on Tuesday. I don't know if a lot of people really. We didn't know what to expect from North Shore, right? We knew they had a defense. We didn't really know what their offense was about. I don't think their offense is like the great, like when you talk about the Bridgeton with a healthy Connor Wegman, for instance. the Westlake with a with a healthy Kate Klubnik. So I don't think they're on that kind of par of offense, but their offense has improved as the season has gone on, and it's going to have to continue to improve as you get into playoffs for sure. But they've been led by this defense, no doubt. North Shore coming off their win last week against Summer Creek, 45-6. And like I said, they seem to have been getting rolling a little bit. They seem to have started to find their identity on offense a little bit. Now it's can they shore that up as playoffs approach? They got a Atascocita coming in town after this game. So what do you think about this one?
I expect to see a battle in this game. I think there's no doubt about that. CE King, though they have faced a couple of really tough teams, they've proven to stand up to those tough teams. Atascocita is no joke this season, so a loss to Atascocita is not really anything to be ashamed of, even though it was, a pretty handy loss. But I think because of that loss, they're going to really want to come in and play strong, especially against a team like North Shore. North Shore, as usual, is having convincing wins all season. But I think my main question is this going to be one of those times where you have a team that's really tough like North Shore that really hasn't faced too much adversity, and that kind of starts to haunt them? Will the shadow of being good all the time become overwhelming when you start getting into some of these tougher teams?
That's an intriguing question. I mean, they do have a loss on the season, so it's not like they're completely unchallenged. And I think their offense has gone through some adversity, even when you see those scores. I mean, I think their defense has kept them in a lot of games. So it will be interesting to see if it's a close game, what happens. I think that's the next step is can they win a close game? I don't think, besides their loss, they've had a close game. Let me check their record here real quick. But I don't believe outside of their one loss that they've really had a close game. Let's see. Yeah, 33-10, 34-7. Yeah, I mean, outside of their one loss, their closest game was a 24-point victory. So that really tells you that, there is some work to be done as far as maybe, hey, what happens in a close game. So, but we'll see. I mean, this could be a trap game for them with Atascocita coming up. You don't want to worry about Atascocita and forget CE King, but we'll see what happens on that one. Let's talk our Dallas games now, and I'll let you kind of take on these because you are the DFW expert. But let's talk Highland Park versus Tyler. It seems on paper to be a game that Highland Park should just kind of walk through and win, as long as they don't just completely mess up and just play uncharacteristic football for them. What do you think?
Highland Park is great. We know this. They're coming off of a big win against McKinney North. They've done the most since their week one loss over against South Lake Carroll in regards to proving themselves. Brennan Storer has been amazing. He's thrown for 18 touchdowns while also rushing for 2. Christian Reeves leads in rushing for Highland Park. I think he has 7 touchdowns on something like 80 carries. They always seem to figure out their opponents quickly defensively. I think we'll see some big things from their defense in this matchup. But, we don't really hear much about Tyler because, quite frankly, we don't really cover East Texas as much as we probably could or should. But Tyler's coming off of a big win against the Wiley East, and that's got to put some fire under them. Eli Holt, he's the senior quarterback. He's been doing absolutely amazing. He's thrown for 20 touchdowns and I think 1,900 something yards. He's also scored 4 rushing touchdowns. Montrell Wade has accounted for 12 of the touchdown receptions, and the Lions they've just shown their strength through the air this season. Their run game is decent. They're going to have to mix it up, especially against Highland Park, because if you're only playing one way against Highland Park is going to figure you out and shut you down. We saw that against Rockwall. I think they have a decent chance, though. Tyler is strong. They are good. They have really good players. And Highland Park will probably be the toughest team that they face all season. If they do lose to Highland Park, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's going to be their only district loss. But, Tyler's strong. I don't think we should automatically count them out. It'll be a really great game. Highland Park obviously has, the bigger, tougher athletes going up against Tyler. But I think we'll see a really good game.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it probably will be a good game. Let's see. Let me look up this little game here real quick on my schedule. Um, like you said, you think that it is going to be their only district loss, which will be good for them for the playoffs. But it is an away game, which we know Highland Park's only lost 2 of those in the last like 20-something years. So I don't see that. I don't see that change. I mean, Flower Mound was the closest this year. Let's not. Flower Mound almost won this year in Highland Park, but Highland Park had a furious comeback to win that one. So we'll see. That game will be on Flow Sports, so definitely catch that out tomorrow. Let's talk about our final game here. And our final game, we'll put the little graphic. It is also the high school football showdown game this week on CW33. South Lake Carroll taking on Eaton, as we know. Big time game for these 2 squads. Go ahead and give us the breakdown of this one, Shana.
South Lake Carroll, the story of the season has been Caden Anderson stepping into a role and blowing it out of the water. He's done really amazing for a young quarterback. He's passed for 18 touchdowns with over 1,500 yards. And not only that, but South Lake Carroll is coming off of a bye week, which means that they're rested. They're ready to roll against anyone. And VR Eaton is a tough team, and they're going to want that tough win. Aside from Caden Anderson, who we always talk about, you have Owen Allen, who's rushed for 13 touchdowns on something only like 115 carries. South Lake Carroll's offense is explosive, and every single time they step onto the field, they are ready to score. Their defense has proven to be unmatchable. They've held their opponents. I looked at this earlier. They've held their opponents to an average of only 12 points per game. And in 4 of their 7 wins, they've only allowed 1 touchdown against them. And their closest game was against the really strong Rockwall Heath. It was a 36-35 win. Eaton, on the other hand, though, they're coming into this game with a close win over Keller Central. I think what's important to look at usually for me is common opponents. And South Lake Carroll beat Keller Central something like 63-7. So to handily beat a common opponent and then to see what VR Eaton did is interesting. VR Eaton's undefeated in district play. Their closest district game was last week, I think. But they're led by Fussell. Eaton has been on point this entire season. Fussell's thrown for 13 touchdowns. He's also scored 9 rushing touchdowns. So I think that's going to be their weakness against somebody like South Lake Carroll. To rely only on one player is tough. But that goes without mentioning J.B. Brown, who's rushed for 10 touchdowns. We're going to have to see a big game from everybody. It's going to have to be more of a team effort and less relying on just a handful of players, in my opinion. But to make a true impact, the defense especially is also going to have to step up against South Lake Carroll.
It will be interesting. You talk about kind of similar opponents, but, they kind of almost beat Keller by almost the same point margin. I think South Lake Carroll beat them by maybe a touchdown more. So it's really what Eaton team's going to show up to put, because you do look at that Keller Central game, and that is worrying when you see that they barely got by Keller Central, and then you have South Lake Carroll who really handled business in that game, and they're coming off a bye week. So, yeah, it's this game it's really what Eaton team's going to show up. I don't know. This is a game tonight, so we can kind of make our suggestions. It's going to be interesting because I don't know if it's going to be enough. Even if Eaton brought its A game, I don't know if it's going to be enough. South Lake Carroll just seems to be on another level right now. We had those questions about their quarterback coming into the season once Quinn Ewers left for college, but he's really just, Kane Anderson's really just kind of done enough, right? I mean, we'll see what happens when it comes to playoffs, especially in the later rounds of playoffs if they make it that far. I think that's when you're really going to see the mettle of Anderson. But right now he's shown he's a very capable quarterback and a really good quarterback at that. And I mean, at South Lake, you got to be really, really excited about that. That you lose your best quarterback, and this guy comes in, and it's like you don't really miss a beat. And like you said, besides their close game against Rockwall Heath, it really hasn't been challenging for them. So Eaton can't have any turnovers or anything like that if they hope to stay in this game. They're going to have a well-executed, well-played game if they hope to even stay in this game, let alone have a chance to win it. So I don't think it's going to be enough, but I think you have to have a perfect game against South Lake Carroll in this one.
Absolutely. You have to be on your mark, ready to not make any mistakes. I will say that something that Eaton has going for them is it is a home game for them. So they have their atmosphere, but I don't know if you've ever seen South Lake travel. When they travel, especially when they're doing really well, as they normally do. It's going to be a really good game. Both teams are very good. It's going to be exciting. I'm very interested to see how this turns out tonight.
Should be hopefully a good one indeed. Again, you can watch that one. It is the high school showdown on CW33. So if you live in that area, definitely check it out. And that's gonna pretty much do it for us. Before we go, we got a few kind of housekeeping notes. First up is, if you're not already, become a VYPE Insider. Breaking news, premium content, exclusive coverage you won't find anywhere else on our website. Subscribe today. It's only $2.99 a month, or if you pay it all up front for a whole year, so you pay the whole year total up front, it comes out to $1.99 a month, so you get a little bit of savings if you make that one-time lump sum payment. Come on, VYPE Insider Day. You won't regret it. And then next up, so, we have that. And then, I mentioned at the top of the show that we probably won't have a show tomorrow. I'm playing that by ear. Honestly, I think it's going to come down to, can I get to Houston and set up in time? So we'll really see what happens on that end. But that is because tomorrow we are doing another VYPE Countdown to Kickoff. We did one last week. I wasn't at that one. I had some other work commitments I had to be at, but I will be at this one. Producing it, so you won't see me in front of the camera, but I'll be behind the camera. The game itself kicks off at 7, and we will go live around 5:45. Josh Cook and our VYPE ambassador Will Turboff and Matt Malatesta will all be part of the pregame show, and then the game itself will be called by Josh and Will. You do not want to miss it. A very good private school showdown coming at you between St. Pius and St. Thomas. Shana, that's going to do it for us today. Go ahead and tell people where they can find you for the DFW area.
Yeah, definitely follow along on Twitter. We're at VYPEDFW. And then you're going to want to head over to Instagram and follow at VYPE_DFW. We have content coming out from a lot of games. Not only football, though. Last week, I think we had some content from some boys volleyball, which is really cool. So be sure you're always following along. We have updates on signings, big stories that are happening around the Metroplex, and you're not going to want to miss any of it.
Yeah, and of course, I know you have some basketball stuff on the horizon. I'm so swamped. I know you're waiting on me probably to get you some of that, so bear with me on that. Shana, I'll try and get to you this week, if not next week for sure. If you want to follow us anywhere else, of course, YouTube, just type in VYPE and hit that subscribe button. Facebook, VYPE Texas, Instagram, Twitter, depending on what you're looking for. VYPE Houston, VYPE ATX, VYPE SATX, any of those combinations should get you what you're looking for. Definitely hit that follow button and follow us along as we cover all of the high school sports in those areas. That's going to do it for our show today. Like I said, probably no show tomorrow, but that's okay. Hey, everyone needs a break, especially because we're going to all be busy tomorrow. But if we don't have that show tomorrow, we will see you Monday.